Hey, this weekend, Dave talked about the faith of a rhino. Who knew a rhinoceros could teach us about faith? What was most interesting to me is that a rhino can run at 30 miles an hour, but they're so big they can't stop very quickly. And in fact, they have very bad eyesight, so they actually outrun what they can see. And it just reminded me of this passage about faith. For we live by faith, not by sight. And that, of course, harkens back to our definition of faith that we gave last week, Hebrews 11:1. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of the things we cannot see. The reason this is an important discussion for me is I was sharing my faith with my older brother, who's not a Christian. And I was trying to talk to him through the things that I believe, specifically the resurrection of Jesus. And I'm giving him the historical documents and the reasons to believe and the logic behind it. And he simply said to me, that's your faith, and that's good for you, but that's not what I feel. And I wanted to pull my hair out, but I didn't have any to pull out. But here's why. Faith is not what you feel. And faith, and here's where my error was, it's not even what you think. Faith is how you live your life. Biblical faith does include your thoughts or your doctrine. And it does include your feelings and what you sense. But the foundation of our faith is not on our logic. It is not even on our feeling. It is on the historic actions of God and how he demonstrated his loyalty for us. And I want to introduce you to a second major passage on faith. Ephesians 2:8-10 is kind of a definition of how we're saved. And it brings up a particularly challenging problem, especially for a culture that defines faith as feeling, or a culture that defines faith as intellectual assent. Ephesians 2, verse 8-10. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not the result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. The controversy, and maybe you've heard it, maybe this is new to you, but there's some theologians that say we're saved by what God did for us, period. Nothing we do in response actually has any impact on our salvation. Other theologians go, wait. Faith isn't just a feeling. Faith isn't just intellectual assent. It is actually in your hands and your feet and your walk of life. So your response to God is part of your salvation as you respond in faith to God. Depending on whether you put faith in your head, your heart, or your hands will depend where you land on this discussion. Let's take a moment right now and just ask this question. Are faith and works contradictory? Can you have one without the other? I want to put it in a different perspective because that term faith and grace, two really religious words, were not originally religious words. This is actually describing a social system. And there are four kinds of people in the ancient world. There are patrons, brokers, clients, and expendables. The patrons were at the top, 2%. They owned almost everything. And in their household, they had what were called brokers. They lived in the household or in the mansion. They would be like doctors and lawyers and writers and teachers. Their job was to serve the household of the patron. And the patron provided everything for them. The third kind of people, and I'm going to go down to the bottom now, they were expendables. And that's about 15% of the population. You're talking prostitutes, coal miners, rickshaw drivers. They would die quickly and poorly. So we can just kind of wipe them out because they were pretty much ignored. 77% of the rest of the population were what were called clients. Now, here's the way it worked. You've got a patron. He wants all the clients. In other words, he wants to really build his empire and reputation. The problem was, at least for Americans, to have a client was very expensive. Because if I'm a patron, you're my client, I have to provide you with a job, a wife, a car, medical treatment, legal fees. I provide you everything because I own everything. So the more clients I have, the more expensive it is. You say, well, why would you want all the clients then? Because Americans, we want to accumulate wealth. In the ancient world, the patrons wanted to accumulate honor. And you get honor by buying clients and being a good patron for your clients. Now, the patron's job, he only had one job, to provide everything. And there was a Greek word for that. The Greek word is charis, which we translate as grace. So when Ephesians says that we're saved by grace through faith, it is we are saved by the gift of God. He's our patron, provides us with everything. Okay, now you get to the brokers. The brokers go out in the highways and byways and say, hey, you should come serve our patron. He's a better patron than the patron you have. And so it was kind of this contest for popularity. And when the clients signed on, they had one job. One job. It wasn't to work his fields, although they worked his fields. It wasn't to make candles or artisans or to teach his children, although you might do that. Your one job as a client is to make your patron famous. So if you've ever wondered why sometimes I'll say, hey, let's go make Jesus famous, that's not just a catchy slogan for me. It is deeply theological. Your faith, the Greek word is pistis, your loyalty and allegiance is to show honor to Jesus Christ as your patron. In other words, to make him famous. This is the way all of society worked. And so when Paul puts it into theological terms, into the church world, he's simply saying what you see in the Roman world, that's what needs to happen in our church. The grace of God saves us. That is his gift to us. But it is our loyalty to him, our faith in him, our allegiance to him that demonstrates that we are in this for his honor and his honor alone. So let's take a few minutes to talk through this. How does this understanding of the social world alter our understanding of faith? Okay, I want to have us do something that I think will be an interesting exercise. I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers to read one verse 3 times. And each of the 3 times, I want you to substitute the word faith with the word fidelity. Then read it again, substitute it with the word loyalty, read it again, and substitute it with the word allegiance. And see how that opens up, perhaps, a different way of looking at some of these famous passages about faith.